So this week we have a module of the week. The module of the week is Tome. And when I say module of the week, I should say a group of modules, because I think there's 5 or 6 modules associated with it that you kind of have to use. We did have an episode about this that'll be in the show notes a couple of years ago with the maintainer, Sam Mortensen. But Tome is essentially a static site generator for Drupal 8 and Drupal 9. I wanted to kind of highlight this module because I started using it last week. I decided it was time to rebuild my site. I got inspired by the project that I've been working on that I've mentioned a couple of times that's using some native web components. And I wanted to test some things like actually integrating them with the Drupal site and a Drupal theme. I had some theories about that, and they bore out. But basically, I thought, hey, a native web component is just HTML. So the twig portion of the Drupal theme can just be the native web component HTML and passing the attributes in that you need to pass in. So it makes that integration very, very easy. On the flip side, I didn't want to like rebuild the site and then have to go through the rigmarole of hosting it, because, I didn't want to maintain my own server, but I also, didn't want to really go on because I could do it statically. I didn't want to have like a full blown like Drupal installation.
Not having to worry about the security updates and all those things too.
Yeah. Exactly. So Tome allows you to just basically take your Drupal site and export it statically. And so that was great. And at first I was like, oh, you know what? I'll just keep a version locally, have my content there, export the static site, host it somewhere like Netlify, and just be done with it. But one of the things I was concerned about was, well, what if my computer crashes? Then I have to rebuild the whole thing. I don't have a lot of content on my site, but that's still kind of a hassle. Well, Tome has a helper module called Sync. I don't know if you guys know about this, but it allows you to export your content statically as well and commit that. So now you have your content and your configuration exported in your Git repo. So you can basically pull down your repository. There's an additional dependency called Tome Drush that allows you to run Drush commands without a bootstrap Drupal site. And then you run Drush Tome install, and it basically installs a Drupal site for you, imports your configuration, and imports your content. So you don't have to have a local copy of your site even running. Like, it's just when you want to change something, you pull down the repo, turn it on, change the content, export it, and then do a deploy. So I have to say, I'm extremely impressed with how this works. I did run into a couple of issues. One issue is I accidentally exported content on an old branch and deleted half of my content.
Whoops.
But because it's in Git, I literally just went back to the other commit, imported, and then my content was back. Like, it was so easy. And then the other issue, and this isn't a Tome issue per se, I did try using Layout Builder just to kind of give it a chance on my site and see how it would work. And I didn't see it documented super well, but I found an issue in the issue queue about it. But basically, because Layout Builder, the way that Layout Builder stores the content in the database, Tome doesn't really have a way to export that content and store it. Like, it can't, it's already serialized, so it can't really serialize it again.
Interesting.
So I spent about an hour trying to figure out why things just suddenly weren't working when I installed that. But once I got rid of that, it took me, I'm using the Olive Arrow theme, and I'm then exporting 4 or 5 native web components that I'm using for different parts of my site. But all told, it took me, 4 or 5 hours to get up to speed. So it was pretty straightforward. Very, very impressed with that module.